The next to cry in the Torah was Avraham. He wept when Sarah died. Avraham came and eulogized Sarah and wept for her. Weeping over his wife's death is a proper reaction. Jewish law encourages shedding tears upon hearing that a virtuous individual has passed away. The mourner's tears express respect for the deceased and stimulate emotional healing for the bereaved. When a loved one passes away, it is not a time for resolutely holding back one's tears. If social norms tend to encourage such restraint, we should reconsider them. The third person to weep in the Torah was Esav. When he learned that Jacob was the recipient of Isaac's blessing in his place, Esav raised his voice and he wept. Like the first appearance of weeping, this first appearance of the word "and he wept" Vayef is almost an expression of deep despair. It's also an expression of deep despair. 20, that's 38. In its next appearance, weeping swings back to the side of holiness. When Jacob met Rachel, he raised his voice and wept. This is a new form of weeping. In each of the three previous examples, weeping was related to some type of loss, but Jacob's weeping was an expression of intimacy. Fleeing from Esau's death threat, Jacob suddenly encountered a kindred soul, a member of his own family. Like someone who has met a long-lost brother, he burst into tears. The two brothers, Jacob and Esau, finally meet in an emotionally charged reunion after years of separation, and they weep together. Esau ran towards him, Jacob, and hugged him and fell upon his neck and kissed him, and they wept. However, in this case, it is unclear whether Esau's kisses and tears were truly wholehearted, as Rashi suggests, quoting the Midrash. He did not kiss him with all of his heart. From this point onwards, weeping remains in Jacob's family, as if it has found its natural abode. Jacob wept when he believed that Joseph had been devoured by a wild animal, as the verse states his father wept for him. Alternatively, according to Rashi, it was Isaac, Jacob's father, who was still alive when Joseph was sold into slavery, who wept in sympathy with Jacob's pain. Although Isaac knew that Joseph was alive, he was not permitted to reveal the secret to Jacob. This indicates another type of weeping, in sympathy for someone else's sorrow. Joseph resembled his father Jacob in many ways, including his characteristic tears. Every one of Joseph's encounters with his brothers in Egypt is accompanied by weeping. At first, Joseph conceals his tears and turns aside to weep. Twice in the previous parsha. Now, as Judah pleads with him, he allows himself to weep aloud, kissing his brothers and weeping, like Jacob when he first met Rachel. Influential tears. So far, we have identified 4 types of weeping. Negative weeping and despair, the positive weeping of bereavement, weeping as an expression of intimacy, weeping in sympathy with another person's sorrow. Joseph's weeping does not fit into any of these categories. It is an expression of profound compassion. The second time Joseph weeps, the Torah states explicitly, Joseph made haste because his compassion for his brothers overwhelmed him, and he felt a need to weep, and he entered the room and wept there. The connection between compassion and weeping is clear. A sensitive person will be moved to tears when his or her mercy is aroused. There is a fine line between self-pity and real compassion. Tears of self-pity are passive and inert. They only serve to inflate the individual's ego. with self-centered thoughts about how deprived and unfortunate he is. This egotistic tendency may become so powerful that it even causes the individual to turn against others by blaming them for his misfortune. Ultimately, self-pity can deteriorate into turning against the Almighty himself. True compassion motivates the individual to actively influence the situation in some way for the better, whether by offering assistance or through prayer, etc.